Good evening. Good evening. It's supposed to be a voter rally. You fired up? There you go. You fired up? There you go. Yeah. This ain't no funeral. This is a rally. Thanks for coming out tonight. I want to welcome to you to the August Wilson Center. How many people were here for the first time? Let me see show of hands. Nobody. All right. Just a few. Well, welcome to the August Wilson Center. I'm proud to be here tonight as the co-executive director recently of the August Wilson Center. And I want to also welcome Leo Gerard. Thank you, Leo, for coming. Also, some you'll be hearing from our county executive, Rick Fitzgerald. Welcome, Rick. And Vic Walczak. Vic Walczak is the head of the ACLU. Yeah. Yeah. Legal organization that brought voter ID in Pennsylvania to its knees. Yes. Fired up. Yeah. Also, the United Steelworkers. This guy about 7 feet tall, walking around here, his name is DeWitt Walton. He's the baddest steelworker I know on the road to DeWitt. And his crime partner, Kahari Mosley, he's around there somewhere. Welcome all of you for coming. They asked me to talk about the history of voter suppression. Watching that film with Dr. King, I was reminded how inspired I was when I was about 20 years old. I was on that lawn, on that mall, in Washington, D.C. when he gave that famous speech. I didn't know at the time how famous it was, but I was there. Yes. And it inspired me a little bit later to become a freedom rider. And I went down, I was assigned to go down to the Mississippi Delta. That's when I first met the fourth generation of voter suppression. It was the great-great-great-grandson of the voter of the poll tax. That's where it comes from. It's in that family of the poll tax. Poll tax was a tax they levied on the general population. That's the way the rich and powerful tried to maintain their power by keeping the vote from poor people who couldn't afford the poll tax. Well, they eventually, courts overruled the poll tax, so they came up with a new generation called the grandfather clause. So when you hear some people talking about the grandfather clause, I got grandfathered in, what they're talking about is the next generation that the rich and powerful use to keep the common people from being able to take power. And it was 2 years after we got out of slavery. They was worried about all these slaves getting ready to vote. And they came up with a law that said you could only vote if your grandfather was eligible to vote. Now, you know what our grandfathers was doing around that time? Deep in slavery. That eventually got overruled and was replaced with the next generation, the literacy test. So the third generation now of voter suppression, coming down from the poll tax. Same thing. The first literacy test they used, they made you had to read the Bible. Well, they had to figure out that some of us in slavery time, that's the only thing we learned. Come on, was the Bible. So they found out that some of these educated Negroes was able to read the Bible. They said, no, we got to come up with something else. So they replaced the Bible with the Constitution. They had no problem with that, though, too. Because when they held the Constitution up and asked them to read it, if they was able to read it, they didn't know whether they had read it right or not. They asked their friend, is that right? of farmers and sharecroppers out of the Mississippi Delta. We had to drive all the way 25 miles to the county seat in Lexington, Mississippi, to have them register to vote. And when we went in, they held up a bar of soap. Said, "Negro, you can tell me how many bowls in this bar of soap, I'll let you vote." That was the fourth generation of the poll tax. Courts overruled that eventually, and with the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act soon to follow, black people got to register and to vote all over the South, all over the North, all over the East, all over the West. And even though our Prince of Peace that you just saw on the film got his head shot off for our right to vote, we still came back and elected the first African-American president of the United States in 2009. But we got lax.
Come on. Tell it.
We got lax, folks. We celebrated so hard. In 2009, I can remember. Do you remember where you were when CNN announced that the next president of the United States is Barack Hussein Obama? I remember how proud I was. But we got lax, folks. We got lax, and we let the crazy-ass Tea Party take over the House of Representatives. And they ushered in the next generation of voter suppression of the Pennsylvania voter ID law. Some people ask me this evening, why are we having a voting rally when the ACLU already had it overturned in Pennsylvania? Do you think that just because this is the fifth generation of voter suppression that they're going to stop? No, they're not going to stop. And they can only get away with it if we get lax again. So suppose we get Obama elected, because he ain't running against nobody, the biggest fool you ever seen in your life. So suppose we get him re-elected, are we going to get lax again? No. Next generation might be the public enemy voter suppression law. They ask you, who's public enemy?
Come on.
And if somebody say, that's the FBI most wanted, they may say, okay, you can go on over there and vote. They ask somebody else, who's public enemy? If you say Chuck D, and Flavor Flav, and Fighting Power, you might not be allowed to go. They're going to come up with another generation. Just because the courts have overturned this generation, doesn't mean they're not coming back. They are coming back. You can bet on it. Yep. I say our freedom depends not on the enemy not coming, but on our being ready to receive him. Yes. So my message to you this evening, aside from welcome, is don't get lax. We got work to do. We got to continue the work of the man they assassinated and all the others that they assassinated behind him. Don't get lax. We got a victory here. Vic Walczak gonna be out here in a minute. Tell you how he's a brilliant legal mind. Him and the ACLU. They was up there in the Pennsylvania courts every day, hitting them to the mat. And we finally got it overturned. But it ain't over. So we